We'll spread our wings a bit on this episode of the Paw Report. Did you know that Charleston is the butterfly capital of Illinois? That title comes thanks in part to the Urban Butterfly Initiative, a local community service organization that works to beautify urban areas. And on this episode, we'll speak to the group's founder about what it takes to be a butterfly city. That and much more coming up. Stay with us.
Fetcher's Pet Supply on the north side of the Charleston Square, serving the EIU community since 1991. Fetcher's welcomes all pets on a leash, is open 7 days a week, and offers made in the USA food. Pet supplies for dogs, cats, reptiles, and fish. Fetcher's Pet Supply in Charleston.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
Well, the city of Charleston has a very unique distinction, and that's really what we're going to be talking about on today's Paw Report. And we're joined by a very special guest today in studio, and it is Paul Switzer. And he is going to talk all about the Urban Butterfly Initiative and why Charleston is the butterfly, capital of Illinois. So thank you, Paul, for joining us today.
Having me, Kelly.
I always like guests to introduce themselves and kind of tell the viewers about them and their background and what led you to being part of our show today?
Okay, so I'm a professor in biological sciences here at Eastern, and I'm the director of the Urban Butterfly Initiative. I actually grew up in Central Illinois. I grew up in Bloomington, Illinois, and went away for school for a while, but came back, and I've been here for over 20 years.
And you are a major, you're the driving force behind this Urban Butterfly Initiative that's underway in our area. What is the initiative, and maybe give us a little history on why it got started?
Okay, so the Urban Butterfly Initiative, we're a community service organization. So we help public and private partners create butterfly habitat. So cities, businesses, other organizations, we try to help them create butterfly habitat to beautify our cities and help save them some money. And so this originally got started in India, actually, in 2017. Worked with a friend of mine there, Jay Gala. He's a very successful businessman and a member of parliament. He's always looking for ways, he's a very forward thinker, always looking for ways to help his communities. And so he and I worked on this as a way of improving habitat in cities, improving the environment of cities, and also connecting people with nature. So then I brought that back here to Central Illinois. And most recently, actually, I'm now working with a group in Belize also to do something similar. So we've got this international effort going on. Mm-hmm. But the general idea is to take urban green spaces, which in most cities means turf grass. So turf grass really, it looks nice and green, but it doesn't do much for the environment at all. And so, matter of fact, very often it's a detriment to the environment because it requires a lot of maintenance, a lot of times herbicides, pesticides, things like that to keep it green. And so we're trying to get people to think a little bit differently about those spaces and maybe make them prettier by putting butterfly habitat in and also saving them money and helping the environment at the same time.
I think some people out there might say, what's so special about butterflies? Why is there this big initiative, and why is it such a push to make Charleston the butterfly capital? Isn't it just another insect? But I think you have a lot to say about the benefits of butterflies.
So butterflies, we really use them as kind of an ambassador to nature. So they're very pretty. They're harmless. They're easy to approach. You can identify them so people can kind of connect with them a little bit. And they also provide a nice connection with kind of a food, in a food web sense. So if you want the pretty adult butterflies that everybody likes to see, the monarchs and likes to see the swallowtails and other things, then you have to have the right plants there for their caterpillars, and you have to not put pesticides on those plants or you'll kill those caterpillars. And so it helps kind of make a connection for people that, in order to have something they want, which are the butterflies, the adult butterflies, they have to kind of view the environment a little bit more holistically. And they also, butterflies, for a lot of people, have kind of a spiritual connection too. There's a transformation they go through from caterpillar to adult that is inspiring to people. And they also, I think, from my perspective too, they're a pollinator, and pollinators are really in trouble right now. And so, and pollinators, the fact that they're in trouble is a problem, because the world as we know it is going to change drastically for the worse if we don't have many pollinators, billions of dollars a year, just economically as well as the environment. And so butterflies are a pollinator. Providing resources for butterflies, helps that particular pollinator, but also helps others.
Paul, if we could go back to the Urban Butterfly Initiative for just a moment, because you explained what the group does, but really there's three major facets of what this alliance, what this initiative is made up on: biodiversity, education, science, research. Maybe if you could kind of go through each of those and the importance of that to the initiative.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes the Urban Butterfly Initiative a little bit different, is that we have this kind of multifaceted approach. So it's not just habitat, but habitat is an important part of it. So the biodiversity component is creating the habitat. So you're creating, instead of just turf grass, you've got a wide diversity of plants that you're establishing, which support a wide diversity of animals, including butterflies. And we usually use native plants because native plants are, they're the easiest to take care of. They are adapted to this area, and they provide the most benefit to the environment. So by kind of creating those native plant communities, we're really helping biodiversity within cities. So cities traditionally have been a negative for biodiversity. They're hurting the number of different species we have. So this is a way of trying to make them maybe part of the solution. So that's the first component, biodiversity and conservation. So the second component is the education component. So along with this, we're trying to connect people with nature, and we're trying to educate them about nature. So in the first step is just learning what those butterflies are, and that's again one of the benefits of using butterflies, is you can identify them. And so we have, to help that, we developed a guide to the common butterflies, the 25 most common butterflies in our area, and this is free. So you can download this free on our website and have an e-guide right on your phone. So you see a butterfly, almost certainly it's one of the ones that we've covered in this.
And that's a booklet that you're the author of.
So I'm the author of, and worked with Chad Franks, who's one of EIU's graphic designers, and he did a great job working on the layout of this, and we're really proud of it and hope that it helps people. So this is available free on our website that people can get. So we're trying to educate people about butterflies, but that's just the first step. So if you care about butterflies, then hopefully you're going to care about the environment more broadly as well, and try to do things to benefit that. And then the last part is science and research. So while we're establishing these habitats, while we're getting people to learn about butterflies and the environment, we're also trying to gather data to find out more about butterfly populations, learn a little bit more about butterflies, but also learn about the connection between people and the environment. What helps people kind of connect and value the environment.
Let's hone in on Coles County and talk about some of the projects that are going around Coles County specifically.
Okay, so we've got a lot going on in Coles County, especially when you consider I just really started talking to people in early 2018. So it's been just a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. And we've already gotten, by the end of this year, we should have close to 20 acres of habitat established. Wow. So we've, in our area, we kind of have, in the Charleston area, kind of 3 corridors. So we think of them as kind of swaths, because with a lot of animal populations, and butterflies fall into this, connectivity is really important. So rather than having isolated little patches, we're trying to establish kind of networks kind of a matrix of habitat so butterflies can move from one to the other, which will help the population overall. So the first stuff we have is to the north. So the first corridor is the Lincoln Prairie Grass Trail corridor, and that's the Lincoln Prairie Grass Trail is the connection, I think it was the old railroad track that they converted to being a bike path and walking path between Mattoon and Charleston. And so working with Ameren and the city of Charleston, we're creating habitat along that trail. But then that also has some trailheads, so like 6th Street Trailhead, and there's one at Loxa Road, and there's one on the west side of Charleston as well. So we'll have those kind of what we call hot spots, which are areas that kind of a high diversity of plants where there's more interaction between people and the butterflies and the plants. So that's North Charleston. Then we have the Town Branch corridor, and the main thing we've got going on right there now is the Charleston Carnegie Public Library. They've been a great partner with this. And the Eastern group, Earthwise, is also involved in this. And so right there at the library, we've converted habitat in their parking lot as well as some surrounding area. So we have probably over an acre of habitat that's being established right there. And then, and we have some connected areas we're working on as well. And then there's the south corridor, which is maybe more of a checkerboard than a corridor, but we've got, we're working on Reeser Park. We've got a lot of stuff at Lake Charleston. So the Pavilion area, Woodyard Conservation Area, the Red Barn, Fox Ridge State Park. So those have been working with the city of Charleston, Pheasants Forever, so the Lincoln Heritage Chapter of Pheasants Forever. The Fox Ridge Foundation has been very important in establishing those sites, as well as some that are upcoming, like CCAR Industries is doing some habitat, and they're going to be working with Charleston High School and trying to create some curricula that are, surrounding butterflies, but also, working on habitat in the city.
What are the habitats? Can you get specific? I know you said a lot of this is turf area that you try to cultivate and build up,
right.
But what makes up the butterfly habitats?
So the habitats themselves start with plants. So what we do is we try to establish a very high diversity plant community. And so we use probably somewhere between 20 and 30 species of plant seeds that are native plant seeds to get established. And so the habitats themselves that we create, again, a big part of this is the beauty. So we don't want to create, like a buffalo prairie that's, 10 feet tall or something that people can't see around, because that doesn't really work in a city. And so the plant communities that we establish, most of the plants are going to be 3 feet or shorter, and so it doesn't cause problems for traffic or anything like that. And then they have a lot of native grasses in them, as well as a lot of different flowering plants. And so the flowering plants provide the resources for the butterflies and other pollinators, and the grasses fill in the space. So instead of having, creating like a butterfly garden where a lot of times people have, a plant and then some mulch and then another plant and some mulch, that requires a lot of maintenance, and you're constantly weeding and stuff because, the plants you don't want will fill in open space. They kind of take over. And so we try to create more of a plant community where there isn't a lot of open space, and that makes the plant community healthier, and it lowers the maintenance costs quite a bit, and it looks better.
Milkweed is one of them, correct?
Yes, milkweed is definitely one of them.
Any other varieties off the top of your head that you
Oh,
can...
sure. So milkweeds are a favorite, and the connection to monarch butterflies is one that a lot of people are aware of. But actually, the milkweed flowers are really important nectar sources for a lot of different species, not just monarchs. But we have, purple cone flowers. We have blue mist flower. We do a lot of different types of species that will bloom kind of throughout the year. So, early on in the year, we might have Coreopsis. Late in the year, we might have some asters. And in between, we've got all sorts of different plants. And so, again, it's the idea is to provide, flowers really year long, which is what makes it pretty for people, but also provides the nectar resources for the animals year round, or not year round, but long term.
You've mentioned monarchs, and as your book indicates, there's multiple species of butterflies that these hotspots and areas attract. You've encouraged people to download the book and read through it, but what are some of the top species of butterflies that the areas, the habitats do do attract
Yeah,
the
well,
most
there are
of?
definitely some that are going to be more common than others, and butterflies, there are different groups of butterflies. So we have swallowtails. So around in this area, you could have tiger swallowtails and black swallowtails and pipevine swallowtails, things like giant swallowtails, the largest butterfly in North America. These areas attract. And then you have the whites and sulfurs, so the white and yellow butterflies. There's a variety of those, a lot of different species of those. And then you can have little tiny, like eastern tail blues that are only about that big. And then you can have fritillary butterflies and crescents like the pearl crescent and great spangled fritillary monarchs. And then there's butterflies that a lot of people don't even really think of as butterflies, and there's a lot of these and they're hard to tell apart, but those are the skipper butterflies. So this, what we have on the cover, one of the reasons, this is a fiery skipper. And one of the reasons we put that on the cover is to kind of reinforce the idea that these are butterflies too. And they're very common but easily overlooked. And so those butterflies, all those will come in. And even though I said, we've only put these habitats in starting a year ago, so it hasn't been very long at all. We've already seen over 40 species of butterflies in these areas. And Coles County, we probably have in the area of 70 to 80 species that would be possible. And so we're well on our way to, establishing great habitat for these. And one of the reasons it's successful is because not only are we putting in the flowers for the adults, but we're also putting in the caterpillar host plants, which is really important for the populations. You can't have the adults if you don't plant the stuff for the caterpillars.
Paul, you keep a real close eye on all these habitats. What's the most unique, rare species that you've actually been able to encounter? And there are better times of the day that you could, that you go out and you see these different species.
So one of the nice things about kind of watching butterflies or getting into butterflies as a hobby is that you don't have to get up really early and you don't have to be up in the middle of the night looking at them. So middle of the day on sunny days is a great time for butterflies. Good time for people, good time for butterflies. In terms of the most unique thing that we've seen so far, right here on campus near the Secret Garden, which is by the greenhouse near the Life Science Building, we have just a little demonstration area there. And last fall, there was an Ocola skipper there, which that's the first time, I saw it on my way into work. It's the first time that's been documented in Coles County, and it's one of the furthest north records. It's more of a southeastern species, and so that was a pretty cool thing to find on the way into work.
All these secret garden, the habitats that you've mentioned at Fox Ridge and the library and different areas do require help. I mean, you don't do this alone. You have a group of volunteers that works to help you. Talk about the importance of the volunteers and what they do, and maybe if anybody is out there watching, thinking about maybe getting involved, how they can do that.
Okay, so really, none of this would happen without help. One of the biggest parts of this initiative is the kind of connection among groups and among people, and that's what really helps it keep going. So there's really 4 ways if people want to get involved that they can get involved. The first way is if they like what we're doing is just tell people about it, especially the people that are involved. So the cities and parks and businesses that are doing this, they need feedback. And so if people give them positive feedback, like we like what you're doing, this is great, we know it's saving you money, but it's also making our community prettier and helping the environment, then tell them about it, and that'll encourage them to do more and encourage others to start doing it. So that's probably the easiest thing. The habitats themselves, helping us work on those is the second thing people could help with. So establishing them takes volunteers. So we, putting down the seed and watching it over the first few years to make sure it's, everything's going okay. And even establishing their own habitat. So if they want to do it in their own yards, creating habitat to help with that connectivity that I was talking about would be very valuable. They also could help us collect data. So, again, science is a big part of this, and we would like people to help us figure out what butterflies are coming, to these habitats or are just appearing in their own yards. And it's really easy to do that. They don't even have to know what the butterflies are. They just need to get the iNaturalist app. So they can go on to iNaturalist.org, or they can get an app for their phone. And it's right on their phone, and all they do is take a picture. So you would find a butterfly, take a picture, and you submit it on the app. That's a free account. And it'll geotag it, and it'll know the date. So from that, we'll know what was there, when it was there, and where it was. And so that's publicly available data. So there are citizen scientists that are helping us collect data on these butterflies, which is really valuable to help us track these things through time.
And you're doing an amazing job at getting the word out through social media. I mean, you have an account on Facebook, right. You have a website, and right. I'm assuming that all of the information that you're providing today,
absolutely.
Folks can go there and they can look. If
right.
they've heard, there's an app, they can go there and you
right.
can.
So if they don't remember the things we were saying here, they can go, all of it's on the website. So urbanbutterflies.org is the website. And we're on Facebook at Urban Butterfly Initiative. This is USA, Urban Butterfly Initiative.USA, just to get to the right country. And they can contact us through that. They can email us. If they want to email me at my biological sciences address, they can do that as well. So all those ways, if they want to get involved, they want to volunteer, as we're establishing these habitats, they just want to connect with us, just send an email or contact us through Facebook.
You said that you're expanding this initiative. Your latest adventure is with Belize. Mm-hmm. Tell us what you're doing there and who you're working with and what you're hoping to establish in that Caribbean nation.
Right. So a friend of mine, a colleague of mine in the Department of Biological Sciences, Eric Bollinger, and I have a study abroad marine ecology course that will be going to Belize. And so as part of that, we're going to involve students in this project. We're working with the Belize Botanical Garden to put some butterfly habitat in San Ignacio, Belize, so a city kind of in the western part of Belize, in some of the open spaces that they have. So it's the same idea in all these places. We've got, space in cities that's really not doing any good for the city. Sometimes it's even an eyesore or costing the city money, and we're converting that into something that's very pretty, and we're converting it into something that's going to save them money, and we're converting it into something that's going to help the environment and educate the people. So we're doing that in Belize, we're doing it in India, we're doing it in the United States.
Paul, you're a forward thinker too. I know you mentioned you're a colleague, but you're a forward thinker too, and you've done everything that it takes to make Charleston the butterfly capital of the state. How does that make you feel about this community and this initiative to have that title as we wrap up our discussion today?
Yeah, the title's really important, and what I think it represents is that this has really been a community effort. Okay, that title didn't come because I like butterflies and planted some flowers. It came because we've got dozens and dozens of organizations that have bought into this idea. The cities bought into it. I mentioned that by the end of this year we'll have 20 acres of habitat. I mean, that's incredible for a city of this community or a city of this size to put in this short of a period of time. But we've got the school district involved, we've got nonprofits involved, businesses involved. So it's just all sorts of facets, just the community in general, the people in our community. So that's what I think is most gratifying to me, is that, we have all these people that have recognized that we can do something different in our community, and we can be a leader on this, even in the, Charleston, which is not a very large community, but we can really be a leader in terms of these types of environmental initiatives.
Well, thank you for leading the effort, and of course, thank you for being a part of the Paw Report, sharing the story of the Urban Butterfly Initiative. I hope the information that you provided will encourage some others out there to seek out some volunteer opportunities with the organization to allow it to continue growing and to expand that acreage in Coles County. So
thank you.
Yeah, Paul Switzer, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you very much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for spending some time with us here on the Paw Report. I'm your host, Kelly Goodwin. Until next time, we'll see you then. If you're a veterinarian, trainer, groomer, specialist, rescue organization, or shelter that would like to partner with the Paw Report by providing expert guests for the show, please contact us by emailing weiu@weiu.net or call 217-581-5956. If you have a topic you'd like to see on the show or questions for our experts, contact us with those too.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Fetcher's Pet Supply on the north side of the Charleston Square, serving the EIU community since 1991. Fetcher's welcomes all pets on a leash, is open 7 days a week, and offers made in the USA food. Pet supplies for dogs, cats, reptiles, and fish. Fetcher's Pet Supply in Charleston.
Additional support for the Paw Report on WEIU is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.